just dropping in tonight, I'm going to read you a excerpt from my upcoming story collection, Muscadine Wine. I know you guys have been hearing me talk about it, and this is the beautiful cover art done by Elizabeth Leggett. This is a collection of short stories that are based on my growing up in Southwest Georgia. A little bit of fact, a little bit of fiction, throwing it all together to come up with some fantastic stories that I hope you will enjoy. The story that I'm reading an excerpt from tonight is a story called Miss Berry's Boy. It's a fun story that I really had a good time writing, and I'm going to read you a little bit of it to give you some feel for it, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Miss Berry's Boy. Some folks just mean for no reason. They come out the womb raising hell and go on to the grave the same way. Ain't nobody done nothing to them to make them that way. They just got the devil in them. That was Miss Berry's boy. It was a shame, actually. Miss Berry was the sweetest woman God ever put on this earth. The woman would break her back to do for anybody, white or black. Some folks said that's why she had a baby like Rufus. Miss Berry had to be his mama. Anyone else would have killed him in his grave, in his sleep. Rufus was a bad boy from the day he was born. Almost killed Louise at birth. The midwife had to use all her skills and herbs to bring that boy into the world and keep both of them and his mama alive. When she spanked that boy's bottom, he wailed like a hank, shaking that old midwife to the bone. She took off out of Miss Berry's shack like she was on fire and never came back. The only time that boy was calm was when he was in his mama's arms. And that was bad, because Miss Berry's husband, Nathan Berry, was a good colored man. He worked hard in them cotton fields during the week, never went out drinking at the juke joint by Ucha Creek at night, and was always at church every Sunday, sitting in the front pew of Big Bethel AME Church in his Sunday's best beside Louise. Folks used to say they looked like black Barbie dolls, but that boy hated his daddy, just like everybody else. He wouldn't let his daddy touch him. If he touched that boy with his pinky finger, he'd get to hollering like somebody stabbed him with an ice pick. Got so bad that one day Nathan told Louise it was either him or Rufus. Now anybody with any kind of common sense knows good and damn well that a woman ain't gonna choose a man over her child, no matter how evil that child or how good that man is. So Nathan packed his bags, climbed onto his red mule, and left the county. Now Nathan left Louise in a bind. She couldn't get a job because nobody in their right mind would let that boy in their house. So Louise took to washing and cooking to make ends meet. Thank the Lord she was good at both. Louise used what little money she saved up to get her a cow and a few chickens. She planted collards, mustard greens, black eyed peas, and lima beans. Every morning she would rise before the sun and start cooking. By daybreak she was on the side of the road with breakfast for the men going to work in the local farms. She would carry that boy around on her hip the whole time, and he would give the evil eye to each and every one of them. God ain't made another woman as good as Louise Berry, and he never will again. Time finally come for Rufus Berry to go to school. Louise dressed Rufus in a white shirt and brand new coveralls with the best second-hand shoes she could find. She made a sack lunch for him, kissed him on his forehead, then walked him for 2 miles to the schoolhouse. Miss Turnipseed, the teacher, waited outside, her smile fading when she saw Louise and that boy. She'd heard the rumors. Everybody in the county had, but Miss Turnipseed wasn't no pushover. Ever since she'd come to the county after graduating from Albany State College, she'd run the colored schoolhouse with kindness and a firm hand. She wasn't about to let no 5-year-old wild child run over her. That's what she thought. Old Miss C didn't make it a day and a half. She marched Rufus back home, looking like she was holding the hands with a hornet. As soon as she saw his house, that boy calmed down like a kitten. Miss Turnipseed banged on the door till Louise opened it, flour from her latest batch of pies on her apron and cheeks. Here, Miss Turnipseed said, shoving Rufus into the house. Don't you ever bring this boy back to my schoolhouse again. But he needs an education, Louise replied. Miss Turnipseed looked thoughtful for a moment. Then her eyes brightened. I tell you what, I'll bring you everything you need to teach him yourself. When the time comes, I'll test him, but only with you present. I ain't got too much time to teach him, Louise said. I don't have the time. Well, you're going to have to make the time, Miss Turnipseed said, because if you bring that boy back to my school, one of us is going to end up dead, and I'm determined it ain't going to be me. So that's how Rufus got to be homeschooled. Miss Louise couldn't teach Rufus and get chores done at the same time, so she put that boy to work. There was field work before sunrise, lessons in the morning, more farm work in the afternoon, wood chopping at dusk, then lessons after dinner. Miss Turnipseed kept her promise, bringing assignments by and testing Rufus when it was time. That's when Miss Louise and Miss Turnipseed discovered that Rufus was as smart as he was mean. Rufus's body grew with his mind. By the time he was 12, that boy stood over 6 feet tall, all arms and legs and a big old head. It was then that girls started taking notice of Rufus, not only because he was tall, but he was a handsome thing too. Folks that remembered his daddy said he was the spitting image of him. Miss Louise found herself working overtime, especially that summer, keeping girls, and some women, away from Rufus and keeping him away from them. While most boys back then stopped schooling around 13, Miss Turnipseed kept bringing lessons and Rufus kept learning, except now he was smelling himself and became too hard for Miss Louise to handle. The boy kept doing his chores, but there were only so many hours in the day. Rufus took to gambling, fighting, and whoring, building a bad reputation among colored folks and whites alike. Problem was, everybody was scared of him, even the sheriff. Nobody could beat him in cards, drinking, or scrapping. Relief came to the county with the Great War. Rufus decided that he would enlist. It was a steady job. He could fight white folks without getting in trouble. He packed what little possessions he had, kissed Miss Louise goodbye, then walked to the train station where he spent his gambling money on a one-way ticket to Harlem. When he got there, he was a sight to see. A few of them city boys started to make fun of him, but after a few broken jaws and lost teeth, they stopped. Rufus enlisted in the 369th, known as the Harlem Hellfighters. After intense training, he and the other Negro soldiers shipped out to France. If there was ever a man made for war, it was Rufus Berry. All those years of fighting trained him for that moment, and all the hard work on the farm made him tougher than barbed wire. And the French loved him. Rufus discovered that there was a place where white folks respected Negroes. Well, at least more than those rednecks down south. The French army gave him awards despite the protests of American officers. It was so good that after the war, Rufus stayed a time in France. He made a good living as a bouncer and a jazz musician. After a while, Rufus got tired of France and returned home. Well, almost. He followed his army buddies back to New York, where his brain and his brawn earned him a pretty penny. Rufus would send letters home to his mama letting her know how he was doing, and he always included a few dollars to help her with the farm. He probably would have stayed there, but Rufus's life was about to go through the worst change ever. On a cold December afternoon, after he got a letter from home telling him his mama was sick. Without hesitation, Rufus jumped in his car and headed back to Claiborne County. The day Rufus returned to the county was a day to remember. He arrived driving a 28 Nash coupe, speeding down Highway 216 without a care in the world. Now everybody knew that the road was a speed trap except for Rufus, seeing that he'd been gone for a while. No sooner did he pass the stand of Red Oaks on Bullet Road than County Deputy Calhoun Bodine speed out of hiding, sirens blaring. Rufus pulled over, cussing under his breath. Calhoun swaggered to the driver's side and received a double shock. Not only was there a Negro sitting at the steering wheel, that Negro was none other than Rufus Berry. Calhoun, is that you? Rufus said. Calhoun was speechless. He'd received a good whooping or three from Rufus before coming to his senses and leaving well enough alone. He slowly calmed down and a grin formed on his face. Times were different now. He was an officer of the law and a member of the good standing in the Klan. He stood a little straighter as he gripped his gun belt. Welcome home, Rufus, he said, attempting to make his voice deeper than it actually was. Heard about your mama. My sympathies. Thank you, Calhoun, Rufus said. Now can you tell me what this is all about? Caught you speeding, Calhoun said. I don't see how you did that, seeing that there's no speed limit sign on the road. Calhoun's eyes went wide. Are you calling me a liar, Rufus? No, just making an observation. Calhoun stepped away from the car, his hands moving toward his revolver. Now what? Rufus looked confused for a moment, then a smirk came to his face. Before Calhoun could reach for his gun, Rufus stepped out his car with a Tommy gun. You must have forgot who I am, Rufus said. Calhoun swallowed. I ain't come down here for no trouble, but I ain't running from it, Rufus continued. I'm here to see about my mama, and I'll be here till she's gone to glory. I heard what y'all been doing down here, but I'll be damned if I've served the country in France that I'm gonna let y'all backwood white folks get the best of me. Now, how much I owe you? What? What? Calhoun said. How much I owe you for this speeding ticket? Um, $20, Calhoun answered. Rufus reached into his jacket pocket with his left hand, took out a $20 bill, and handed it to Calhoun. The rattled deputy took the money and stuffed it into his pocket. Calhoun nodded, then backed away to his patrol car. He jumped in, started it, and did a U-turn and sped away. Rufus watched him till he drove out of sight. And that's it. Hope y'all enjoyed this portion of Miss Barry's Boy. Again, that's one of the stories in Muscadine Wine, my collection of short stories that will be coming out actually July 16th. You can actually pre-order the book. Pre-order the book now. I'm gonna put the link here so you can check it out if you decide you want to pre-order it today. But like I said, it will be coming out on my birthday, matter of fact, July 16th. So if you're looking forward to it, that's when it will be here. And Joanna, you did not cause me to stutter. That's just me. It's the first, it's been a while since I read. So hey, I hope you enjoyed the excerpt. I hope you will check the book out, and I hope you will enjoy it. So y'all take care. Peace.